So, 3 weeks. Today marks 3 weeks. That's an absolute lie. Today actually marks 22 days. But, what's a day between friends, eh? Since I stopped out drinking alcohol. And I wanted to share in this video really just a couple of experiences and a couple of the observations I've made. I made a video, if you haven't seen it already, when I was 2 weeks clear of alcohol. I think it'll be up here somewhere. But yeah, I wanted to just basically share my experience of 3 weeks into abstinence. Now, I didn't do this specifically as like a dry January thing. Basically, I drank far too much over Christmas and New Year. I realised, in fact, I had it pointed out to me, that I had pretty much not had a day without alcohol for some substantial period of time. So I thought I would challenge myself to stop drinking alcohol for a while. There really is no end date, although I do have nice dinner plans with my wife on the 31st of this month, and I plan to treat myself to a nice glass of wine with that. Whether I do, whether I don't, I'd yet to be seen. But anyway, 3 weeks, what have I observed? Well, I must confess, it hasn't all been sunshine and roses, okay? There's loads and loads of videos on YouTube about the benefits of quitting alcohol and all these great things you'll notice after the first sort of week, or the first 2 weeks, first 30 days, whatever. All these great things you'll notice about yourself. So, in true Phil style, I am going to be painfully honest about it. I'm going to tell you my actual experiences. I'm going to tell you, the good and the bad. So let's start with the good. Some days, I feel a little bit thinner. I feel like I've lost a little bit of weight. That's about it, really. I haven't had dramatic weight loss. I think I've lost a little bit around my face. I've only got 3 chins now rather than 6, which is nice. That's a bonus, isn't it? I've noticed a slight improvement in my skin, the sort of bit of the red blotchiness that plagued my cheeks and my nose, which is real sort of stereotypical drinker stuff, isn't it? Some of that seems to have subsided. It's still a little bit there, still a little bit of a rash, but it's not quite as pronounced as it was when I was drinking every day. I've been sleeping better. There's no doubt about that. I have been sleeping better, and there's 2 reasons why I've been sleeping better. And there's a direct reason, which is because I don't have the alcohol basically making me pass out. And alcohol does make you pass out. It doesn't help you sleep. This is a common misconception, and this isn't me being preachy. It's just interesting that alcohol doesn't help you sleep. Alcohol is basically an anaesthetic, and it slowly puts parts of your body to sleep. So what your body will do is, when it can't function correctly, when it can't keep all the important, when it can't keep a lot of the extremities and all the bits it doesn't need to live alive and running, what it will do is it will shut your body down so it can keep all the essential stuff going. And that's what alcohol does. Ultimately, it puts you into a sort of a forced sleep, so to speak, because your body's shut itself down to protect itself while the poison is, worked through your system. So what that normally results in is you waking up a lot in the night, maybe because you've drunk an awful lot of liquid and you need to go to the bathroom, but also sometimes just because that's worn off and your body's now woken itself back up again. So that's the direct reason. The indirect reason is because alcohol made me snore like a train, apparently. Obviously I don't really know, but alcohol made me snore, and my wife would always wake me up and say, "Phil, you're snoring," and it would get increasingly angry until I ended up on the sofa or in the spare room or whatever. So alcohol has really helped me sleep. It's maybe, if you're doing this, you'll notice that quite often you're more tired in the morning. Don't worry about that. That seems to be normal. It just means you'll feel a bit more awake during the day. I've noticed the cost benefit. Certainly not buying sort of 4 or 5 pints a day, maybe a bottle of wine to take home. That's adds up. I mean, that could be 30 quid a day, which, that's £200 a week on alcohol. I have been spending a little bit. I've been buying the non-alcoholic beers, and I'm probably going to do a little rundown of those at some point, because actually that's quite useful. If someone had told me which ones to drink and which ones to avoid at the start of this, that would have been really helpful. But I've been spending a little bit, but certainly less than half of what I would have been spending on alcohol. So actually substantially less than half, probably less than a quarter, to be completely honest with you. So that's a nice benefit. Now the downsides. Actually, before I leave benefits, there will, of course, be unseen benefits to doing this. I didn't have any physical tests before I started this. I know a lot of people who abstain from alcohol have LFTs, liver function tests, have blood pressure tests, cholesterol tests, all the rest of it before they start abstaining from alcohol, so they've got a reference point. I didn't do that. I weighed myself, and that takes us on to the disadvantages. Weight doesn't just fall off you like people would have you believe. Now, I believed I was drinking probably 1,000 calories a day in beer, at least, and probably not far off that again in wine or whiskey or whatever I was drinking when I got home. So 2,000 calories a day, which is not far off what a bloke should be eating full stop for the whole day. And the weight hasn't dropped off me. And I'll tell you why the weight hasn't dropped off me. It's because I've been eating for England. My appetite's come back. I never used to eat really during the day. I never have breakfast. I still don't really have breakfast, to be fair. I never had lunch, and I'll just eat one meal a day in the evening, normally junk food, to be fair. But now I'm having lunch, I'm having big portions for dinner, I'm munching my way through all the sweets I can find, which is basically replacing the instant energy the ethanol in the alcohol was giving you. So that's probably half the reason I haven't lost weight, like I say, because while I'm not drinking, I'm now eating for England, but that's got to be a more healthy way of giving your body energy. Even if it is junk food or chocolate or whatever, it can't be half as damaging as alcohol. So what else haven't I enjoyed? Well, I suffer from gout, and anyone who doesn't suffer from gout won't understand the pain of it. I can honestly say I've had broken bones, I've experienced a lot of knocks and stuff throughout my life, and I used to do door security and stuff, so I know a bit of pain. I'm not afraid of a bit of pain, but my God, gout is the worst pain I have ever experienced. And I've had non-stop flare-ups of gout since I quit drinking. And I believe, and I don't know because I'm not a doctor, but I believe it's probably just because there's an imbalance in my body of chemicals, and that's what's causing this to flare up. What I've also noticed, I've been waking up with a hangover. I'll call it that in the old inverted commas. I've been waking up with a hangover many mornings out of the last 21, 22. I've woken up with what feels like a hangover, and I've had to actually remind myself that I wasn't drinking. I've been waking up with a headache, with a dry throat, with sore eyes, that feeling of sort of nausea that you get with a genuine bona fide full-blown hangover. And I've had to remind myself these mornings, Phil, you haven't been drinking. You haven't had a drink for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Now again, this is pretty standard alcohol withdrawal, but it just goes to show, how much your body has become used to dealing with and almost become reliant on this drug. And the fact that I have experienced these withdrawal symptoms have made me much more determined to, cut down my alcohol or eliminate my alcohol going forward, because if my body reacts that badly to its withdrawal, that just goes to show how much I was drinking. So I felt worse. I felt worse, for not drinking. And I've also had to suffer the urges. Now I was told, or I read, or I watched a YouTube video, and the common consensus seemed to be that after 14 days of not drinking, you break the physical addiction. You break the cycle of physical addiction. And I can tell you, from my experience, that is pretty much nonsense. I am 3 weeks and a tiny bit in, and I am still getting urges to go and drink alcohol. I'm still actually relying on willpower and the blocks I put in place for myself. And just to very quickly cover those, I've told everyone. That's pretty much all I've done, is I've just told everyone that I've stopped drinking. And then any time, if I even thought about buying a beer, I'd get so much of a backlash. I'll be told, I knew you'd quit, and I'm not a quitter. I don't want to be seen as a quitter. So that was my blocks. That and not keeping alcohol in the house. I had some bottles of wine and stuff, which I took out the fridge because I won't drink my wine at room temperature. Apart from a really nice red, but I haven't got any of that. So I put some blocks in place, which have helped deal with the urges. But no, at the moment it's still very much a willpower game, to be honest with you. And that I don't expect 14 days to come and go and suddenly you don't fancy a beer anymore. Because at the moment, probably commit some crimes to have a beer, to be honest with you, but fortunately I can't, because like I say, those blocks are there. So yeah, I mean, my point is really that, you know, you're going to see negatives. You're going to see negatives, but these are short-term negatives. And a lot of the positives, a lot of the benefits, certainly to your health, you don't see. You actually physically feel worse because your body is imbalanced. It's so used to having this alcohol, this ready supply of instant energy, and this drug that it's become reliant on, that you're going to feel worse. So don't, like I said in my last video about giving up gambling for 90 days, don't expect it to be sunshine and rainbows. You're going to suffer a bit for it, but just think of the, you know, think of the idea of breaking the habit and being more healthy going forward. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm focusing on, changing my relationship with alcohol. So maybe in the future I can enjoy it, but I'm not so reliant on it to relax, sleep, and all the rest of the, you know, the things that we believe it does for you. One thing I'll say is I actually went. Actually, no, you know what? I might leave that for another video because I've already rambled on for 11 minutes. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you soon, guys.